Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Wadash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and who teach well. Much peace and mercy to the hopeful elect. You brothers and you sisters, wholeheartedly waiting upon the Lord Yahweh to send His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, to deliver us from this captivity. To you I say shalom. This video is going to be entitled, We Are Now in the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We are now in the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And I'm going to start here in Exodus 12 and 15. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth bread from the first day unto the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. And this is a portion of the Passover. The first night, which is the 14th day at even of the first month, right? That day is the Passover. That's when you get your lamb, prepare your lamb, you get your unleavened bread, you get your bitter herbs, you know, your wine, you know, your bitter wine, your dry wine. You want that sweet shit. And you rehearse the righteous acts of the Passover. And then, which the first day, which is the 15th day of the month, is the start of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Because when you read more into this, it goes into how Israel had to, they were forced out of Egypt, right? The people of Egypt basically pressed upon them to, hurry up and get them out, because there was a great slaughter in the land of Egypt. All the firstborn were killed, from the very low born of Egypt to the Pharaoh, which was the highborn. You see, so they all were like, yeah, no, it's time to get these Israelites up out of here. So they were pressed upon. They were forced, so to speak, out of the land of Egypt. So they did not have time to prepare their meals. They didn't have time to, leaven their bread and prepare it to be cooked. You see, so they had to eat unleavened bread for 7 days, during this time that the Egyptians were pursuing them, etc., etc. So now we are in that time, rehearsing the righteous acts, not eating leavened bread. Right, leavened bread, different things like crackers, cakes, cookies, bread, pastas, things like that. You want to stay away from all those things. You can incorporate, if you want something that's going to help fill you up, you can eat potatoes. Make your own mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes. Rice is fine. There's no leaven agents in rice. You can eat all of those different things, and that should help, fill you up. And what would really help, during this time is like fiber. Things that carry fiber. You want to make sure, you incorporate that within your meals, and then that is going to help alleviate those feelings of hunger, right? Sometimes you will eat a dog ass meal salad. You got this, no croutons. You can't have croutons. Brothers get their salad. Oh yeah, can I get some extra croutons? No croutons. If you do get a salad, you can get extra chicken, extra tomatoes, might get some egg in there, some raw onion, extra lettuce, whatever. Maybe even put some spinach in there. However you like your salad. However, no croutons. Like I mentioned, no crackers, no cookies, no cakes. No pudding. All that extra garbage. We refrain from those things during this time to reflect, right? Because this time is a memorial. A remembrance of Yahweh B'Shem Shai delivering us from this captivity of Egypt, ancient Egypt, right? And now we're in this time where we are yet this day in our captivity, subject to payments and subject to different things that we have to deal with, and now we are rehearsing the righteous acts. So, within this time frame, refrain from, these different things as much as you can to the best of your ability. Shit, even if you feel like, oh man, I ain't got nothing else to eat, this is all I got to eat. Fuck it, don't eat. Go a whole day without eating. Fuck it, if that's the case. We are to truly show our passion and love towards Yahweh Shem Yahushua and keeping His commandment. He said, if you love me, keep my commandments. Right? And this is one of the commandments. Thou shalt not eat leavened bread for 7 days. It's just 7 days. It's just a week. And if you feel like you can't go a whole week without eating leaven, you need to, do some, some self evaluation, because, we at Great Millstone, we try our best to keep the scriptures, in its totality. We cannot keep the whole law perfectly. However, we do thoroughly keep certain laws to the best of our ability, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So, like I mentioned earlier, potatoes, with the skin. You want to eat the skin because it has the fiber. Sweet potatoes with the skin, it has the fiber. Different vegetables. I like asparagus. Asparagus is good. It makes your urine smell really, really weird. But it's a good veggie. That has carbs, it has fiber as well. But potatoes is going to be your main source of filling you up and keeping you satiated during this time. If you have a problem with feeling hungry, you're like, oh man, I want a snack, I need a snack. Start making you some potatoes, man. Make you some mashed potatoes with the skin in it, and go from there. So, we are to, let's grab that actually before, like I said, this is in transit, so I don't want to read too much. This is John 14 and 15. If you love me, keep my commandments. John 15 and 10. If you keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in His love. You see? 2 Ezra 15 and 24. Woe unto them that sin and keep not my commandments, saith the Lord. 2 Ezra 16 and 76. And the God of them who keep my commandments and precepts, saith the Lord Yahweh power. Let not your sins weigh you down. Let not your iniquities lift up themselves. So even though we're keeping the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread to the best of our ability, hey, we can't keep it perfect, man. The scriptures say that this is a shadow of things to come. In the kingdom, we're going to keep it perfectly. So don't bug out, you know what I'm saying? You had your fire salad, and then you found out the salad dressing had some yeast in it. You're like, fuck, you know what I'm saying? Stay away from the main thing. Stay away from the breads. Stay away from the cookies and the crackers and the cakes and the cupcakes and all of that garbage, man. We're rehearsing the righteous acts. The scriptures say, be not over righteous, right? I'm going to really end it off on that, because as I quoted earlier, this is not our rest. This is a shadow of things to come. We keep it to the best of our ability. Sirach, I think it was 7. I believe it's 7. Yeah. Sirach 7 and 16. Be not righteous over much, neither make thyself overwise. Why shouldest thou destroy thyself? Right? You looking at all the ingredients. You looking at the ingredients in the dressing. You looking at the ingredients in this and in that. Of course, we all know. Scriptures say we shall eat our defiled bread amongst the Gentiles, man. Everything is fucking defiled. Everything it has some type of element that causes us to sin. Esau Edom has set it up this way. That's why we cannot rely on keeping the law perfectly. No man on this earth can keep the law perfectly. Yahweh Shai already did it for us. That's why when he was sacrificed, his blood, he was that perfect. This is what the Passover is about, spiritually. His blood is covering the elect. The fact that he came on the scene, he did not sin. Right? He was that unblemished lamb that was sacrificed for the nation of Israel, starting with the elect. So now we abide in his blood, right? Through faith that he is going to cover us from our sins. Now that doesn't mean go out there and just be wicked. No. Because right next to it, it says what? Be not over much wicked. Neither be thou foolish. Why shouldest thou destroy? Why shouldest thou die before thy time? See? So what's going on over here? Oh my God, bro. It's always something. Salaki, bros. They got the whole freeway cut off because of some bullshit. And this guy just, man, drive, bro. Oh my God, bro. Anyway, yeah, I don't know why they got the whole fucking freeway closed off. They ain't doing shit, bro. Safety Service Patrol. Yeah, where was I? Yeah, be not over thou much wicked, neither be thou foolish. Why shouldest thou die before thy time? Because, Jacob gets simple, man. Jacob gets stupid. Thinking that, oh, Lord, we can't keep the law perfectly, so, I can just eat pork. No, that does not mean you can eat pork. The Lord said don't eat it, right? It is an abomination unto you. It makes you unclean. So if that's the case, why would you do it? Why would you do it? The only reason to do it is to be fucking evil. That's why I say be not over much wicked. Because there's certain things that, you have to work on the Sabbath. Certain days you're not going to be able to call off and not work on the Sabbath. Right? However, you acknowledge that day as a holy day. So that means, throughout that, you at work, you're not going to light no fires. You're not going to cook. You're not going to have no, relations with women. You're not going to do those things. But you got to go to work because we're subject to payments. We're in captivity, right? So within this walk, there's a balance. So keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread to the best of your ability. You know what I'm saying? If you stay away from it, stay away from the garbage, man. Right? So I'm gonna end it there. Like I said, I'm not gonna make this too long. Yahweh, this is edifying. Until next time, shalom.